Because students should enjoy coming to school.
Yeah.
What's the point of coming if we're just going to be bored and it's going to be drudgery when we're coming through? So I want our school environment to be a place where staff and teachers look forward to coming in to work each morning. And the same I want to be true for our students. I want students to enjoy coming to school. I want them to be in a place where it's joyful, where they have fun and things to look forward to each and every day. So I think it starts with just the small things. I want when our students come in the morning, high five, fist bump, smile, greeting them in the morning when they're coming in. I want students to be greeted with joy the moment they walk through the door.
Welcome to Rainbow Skies for Teachers, the go-to show dedicated to teachers who want to make a big difference in education. Whether you're in your first few years or well into your teaching career, we are here to inspire, support, and empower you with bite-sized tips, simple strategies, and the motivation to lead an education revolution, one classroom at a time.
We're Ashley and Alicia from Rainbow Sky Creations, two Aussie teachers who love all things teaching and learning. We are here to help you thrive as you work toward making an impact in your students' lives while loving your life as a teacher.
We are here to help you bring joy, simplicity, and creativity into your classroom on the daily. Because
there are rainbows ahead, my friend, and together we're unstoppable.
Rainbow Sky Creations acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Dharawal and Whadjuk Noongar people. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
we are back with another episode of Rainbow Skies for Teachers, and we're back with another amazing guest. Now, this guest is probably one that you may know from social media. Secretly, I'm a little bit of a fangirl, and I've been so excited to do this interview. In fact, I was pretty much telling anybody that would listen that I was doing this interview today. Now, he has traded his office for a rolling cart. Yes, I am talking about the infamous Principal Lamb. Now, because of this, he's doing the interview in a classroom. He's borrowed a teacher's classroom and he's doing the interview after school. So the sound in this episode isn't perfect, but he still has so many amazing things to say. And you know why it's not perfect? Because he actually truly has no office. I was so interested to talk to Jared, aka Principal Lamb, about his role in the school and just about his passion in education, because I've been following him on socials for a long time and you can just see that passion. Every time I see his content, I think, I wish I had a principal like that. I've had some really fantastic principals over the years, but no one with a rolling cart. So let's jump into it. Here is Principal Lamb. So Jared, welcome to the podcast. You have an inspiring and refreshing approach to leadership. Anyone who knows you will be sitting here nodding their heads. You traded your principal office for a rolling cart. What inspired this move, and what was the reaction of the staff and students when you did it?
Sure. Well, first, Ashley, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. And what inspired the move was really the fact that I just feel that as a school leader, one of the primary roles is just supporting students, supporting faculty, and supporting the staff. And so my thought was, what better way to do this than by just going fully mobile and rolling across the campus on a rolling cart? So it actually started partially out of necessity because we were a school of over 800 students and we didn't have a conference room. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to create space for a conference room. And so I'll just abandon my principal's office and now it will become the conference room. So part of it was just like we had limited space in the building. But then it also made logical sense to me of this, not only will I give up my office and now we'll have a conference room space, but then it'll allow me to be more attuned to the needs of the team if I'm walking around the building. And so that's how it started. The reaction that staff and students and everyone had in the beginning, I think, again, I was coming in as a new principal. And so the faculty and staff, I think their initial reaction was like, oh, who is this new guy with this crazy idea that's never going to work? I think there's definitely some skepticism. I remember one person, actually a member of our leadership team at the time, said, oh, you'll keep this going for a week. And so I think there was definitely just like, it was more like a surprise at the beginning. And then once I started rolling, I was just like, you know what, this actually is helping me be more proactive about solving problems and challenges as they arise in the school day. So we just kept it going from there. And so here I am 3 years later, still rolling through the campus on my rolling cart.
When the teacher from the leadership team said that to you, were you looking at that? Now this is a challenge. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Absolutely. I am a highly competitive person. And so I was like, when they threw down that challenge, this is only going to last for a week, I was like, let me show you how long it's going to last.
I love that. So I've been walking around town here in Australia telling everyone that I'm interviewing you today. I'm super excited about it. And they're asking me, people have been saying, but how does he get his work done? Do you get your principal work done or roll around, you talk to students, connect with teachers all day, and then you go home and you do a day's worth of work at the computer?
That's a really good question. I think it kind of goes back to, I think, what is like the true responsibility of the principal. And I believe the number one responsibility, the most important thing I can do in a building is supporting teachers and students. A lot of people ask me, when do you do the real work? And my response to that is, the real work is actually supporting teachers and students, being attuned to their needs and helping them troubleshoot and problem solve as things come up. So I don't look at it as something separate. I think the most impactful work that I can do is making sure that people have what they need, that people feel like they have the support that's in place. My philosophy is I support teachers and staff so that they can do their best work with students. Of course, there's compliance, paperwork, meetings. I still do those. I think there's a couple things that I just approach differently. I just have clearly defined times where I tell all stakeholders how I'm going to spend my time. For example, the first hour of my day, I spend it walking through the building, checking in with every member of our faculty and staff. I do individual check-ins. I ask every teacher, how are you doing today? Is there anything I can help you with? So everyone on my team knows during the first hour of the day, I'm not taking meetings. There's not going to be other things going on. I'm not going to be sitting behind the desk doing paperwork at that time. I'm going to be up. I'm going to be walking from class to class, checking in with every teacher, getting into every classroom. I think earlier in my career, I allowed all the external factors happening within a school impact my day-to-day. So I would come into school and a parent would be upset and I would immediately, that would be the first thing I'd start my day with. There would be a behavior issue that came up and boom, I was just going straight to that. And so what I learned was that I can either let the things around me dictate how my day will go, or I can prioritize what I think is most important. And so for me, it's prioritizing, supporting the teachers, being visible across the campus, making sure students have what they need. To answer your question, I will catch up on paperwork, emails at the end of the day. Definitely after dismissal, I'll spend 30, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, just catching up on some stuff from the day. But the other thing is it's helped me to reprioritize how I'm allocating my time. A prime example of this is if we had a meeting with a teacher, I used to send a calendar invite for 30 minutes. If I was meeting with a grade level team, 45 minutes on the calendar to meet with the fifth grade teachers, for example. What I do now is I just try to operate with greater efficiency. So if I'm meeting with a teacher, it might be a 5-minute meeting, it might be an 8-minute meeting. And what I find is that it actually makes me more efficient with how I'm utilizing the time. We got 8 minutes. I'm going to help you hash through whatever we need to address. And we go into it with a clear target. Whereas before, I think I would often go into meetings and it would just be like, okay, we have 45 minutes. And so we'd talk about all sorts of different stuff and we wouldn't be as action driven.
Yeah. I suppose with the fact that you're checking in with them every day too, you're already connecting with those teachers, but I'm thinking back to some of the experiences I had with principals. And if I had a meeting with them, the first part of the meeting would be connecting with them. How's everything going? What's happening with your family life? That's a sign of a good principal if they can connect with you as a human being. But if they're not doing that every day, then that's when it takes up that time when you're having the meeting. So I suppose that helps with the other part as well.
Oh, yes. I think that I'm having those conversations daily. So I know teachers are giving me updates and I know about their kids and their families and all of that because I'm just having those daily touch points as well.
Yeah. Going back to what you originally said as your core work as a principal is connecting with the students and the teachers. As a classroom teacher, and the teachers that are listening to this podcast are classroom teachers, that's the same for us. Our core work is connecting with the students in our class, and it's so easy to get bogged down and drowned out by all the other things. And I think having a leader like you would be amazing to know that is our common goal. Our common goal is the students and the work that we're doing with them. And then everything else falls into place afterwards.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I'll tell our faculty and staff is my job is to make sure that our teachers can teach. And I think about all the other things that teachers are saddled with in terms of different deliverables and different trainings and following up with parents and all this. And it's like we spend all this other time focused on stuff that is not actually at the core of teaching and learning. And that's the most important stuff. And so my job is to, one, know where those challenges are for our teachers And so I believe the most direct way to have that is by having those daily touch points. Hey, what's bothering you? What can I support with? What's your biggest challenge going into the day? Because if I have a greater understanding of where those roadblocks are for them, then I'm more effectively able to forge the path ahead and help them clear the way so that they can focus on teaching and learning.
Yeah, well, you have that connection with on the ground workers, don't you? And I think that often leadership don't have that connection because they're so bogged down with what's happening in the office that they don't know what is happening on the daily in the classrooms. I think there'd be so many teachers out there that wished they had leadership that was more connected to what was happening in the classroom. So tell us, what have you learned from being out in the school every day, shoulder to shoulder with your staff and students?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is just that there are always daily challenges that are arising. And so my job is just to block and tackle and figure out what those things are. I mentioned that I start my day every day, starting with morning rounds. So I check in with every member of our faculty and staff. And really, it's just supporting with whatever is needed. So a teacher needs pencils, the AC isn't working in the room, the copier broke down. I just feel I enter each day in problem solving mode of knowing that there's going to be X number of challenges that's going to pop up over the course of the day. And my job is how quickly and efficiently can I fix each one so that our teachers and students are set up to be successful.
Have you ever had to do copies for someone? Have you ever gone to the
Oh,
photocopier for teachers?
yes, I did that yesterday.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine asking my principal, can you go make copies for me?
Yes, I make copies. I'll give teachers restroom breaks. It is just like whatever is needed in that moment. I do a lot of checks. I think one of the things that I know is a struggle for teachers is student behavior, supporting teachers with student behavior, making sure that if there's a student who is derailing learning for the other 30 students in the class, administrators need to be the backstop for teachers. And so it's really just whatever the teachers need. There are a team of administrators here. And so we all are with that customer service mindset of making sure teachers get the support that they need to do their best work.
Do you think this model that you've created, let's call it the principal lamb model, do you think it's possible for any principal to do this? Or do you think you have to have a certain mindset, a certain attitude, a certain personality trait to be able to do it?
That's a really good question. I've gotten this one frequently. All leaders need to discover the style that is right for them. My style is definitely not for everyone, but I do think there are aspects of it where you don't have to totally abandon your office and roll through the hallways on a trolley to pick up on some of the aspects that work for me and our team here. I think part of it is just figuring out being attuned to the needs of the teachers. And so you don't need to be fully mobile to have conversations, to do morning check-ins with teachers, to ask them what support they need. Is this style going to be everyone's style? No, absolutely not. This is 16 of leading a school for me. And one of the things that I've just recognized is that I can't help others do their best work if I'm not aware of what those challenges are. And so I try to just do more listening than talking myself so that I can set them up to be successful.
Yeah. And I suppose you're 16 years into being a leader. That means that it was 16 years ago minimum that you're in the classroom yourself. And we can
Yeah.
remember, but it's not the same as actually doing it on the daily.
Yeah, absolutely. So last school year, I taught a sixth grade math class for 2 months. And part of the reason why, and I've continued to have stints of teaching, I've had a couple of years where I actually taught a class for the entire length of the school year while also serving as a head of school or as a
Okay.
principal. And I do think you quickly forget. And I always I remember when I first stepped into a leadership role, first stepped into a principal position, I have this mindset of, I'm always going to remember exactly what it's like to be a teacher. And now that I'm 16 years removed, it is hard to remember, like there are aspects of it, but even the job has changed. I think about just all the challenges that the world faced with just the shift to the more virtual learning and through COVID and everything. And this is stuff that I never had to contend with as a teacher myself. And I think to better be able to relate to the current needs, I also have to stay active with the work too. So throughout my career, I've just found times and opportunities to teach. I think, definitely teaching that math class for a couple months last school year was a good refresher for me on, oh yeah, this is the stuff that really bothered me, or this is stuff that I need to make sure that I'm supporting our teachers with, because if you're not doing the day-to-day work of being a teacher, then it is more difficult to truly understand it.
Yeah. The world has changed. Our students have changed. And as you
Yeah.
said, the job has really changed.
Yes, absolutely. And so that's one of the ways I try to make sure I have a good understanding of it is just by spending some time in classrooms myself, and even smaller ways, like I'll sub a class here and there, or just jump in with another teacher and do some teaching myself. I think even in those small micro moments too, it keeps me attuned to the needs of our team.
Well, often it's the micro moments that matter. We know when we're raising our own kids at home or in the classroom with kids, it's those tiny little moments that we don't think mean very much that matter the most. They make the most impact.
Yeah. And definitely for me, it's oftentimes those small things, those small interactions I have, or a moment I'll have with a student or a teacher where the light bulb just goes off. And then I'm thinking about, oh, yeah, that's actually an idea I need to run with, or something that I need to do differently.
Yeah. So you describe yourself as a servant leader. I suppose we've spoken about what that looks like. How can teachers take that mindset into their classrooms if we're talking about a teacher listening to this?
I think the number one thing as it relates to my relationship with teachers, my job is to set them up to be successful. And I think it's the same way as a teacher approaches their students. Our job as teachers is to set our students up to be successful. And so what does that mean as a teacher? I mean, making sure students have everything that they need to be successful, whether that's their materials, whether that's clear expectations, whether it's that having the classroom environment conducive to learning. And so I think about all the small things. As I think about supporting a staff, I think about all the small things that I can put in place to set our teachers up for success. And I think it's very transferable of how do we as teachers set up students to be successful. It's just making sure when they walk through that door of our classrooms that they have everything that they need, that they enter a classroom where there's a welcoming environment. And I think one of the things I want all of our teachers to know, and I'm always thinking about, is like, how do our teachers know that I have their back and I'm there to support them? And that's the mindset that I try to bring. And the same I would say is true for, I think about my own experience in the classroom, is that was my mindset as a teacher, is how do I make sure my students know I have their back and I'm here to support them? And so I think there's a lot of the transferable, whether we're talking about leadership or whether we're talking about instructional leadership within our classroom as a teacher.
Yeah, because teachers are leaders in the classroom. You're leading all of those kids. Like you could be leading up to 30, 35 students.
100%, 100%, Ashley.
So you can tell by your voice that you are an advocate for joy in education. I know that you do this. You intentionally bring fun into your school culture. Why do you think that's important?
Because students should enjoy coming to school.
Yeah.
What's the point of coming if we're just going to be bored and it's going to be drudgery when we're coming through? So I want our school environment to be a place where staff and teachers look forward to coming in to work each morning. And the same I want to be true for our students. I want students to enjoy coming to school. I want them to be in a place where it's joyful, where they have fun and things to look forward to each and every day. So I think it starts with just the small things. I want when our students come in the morning, high five, fist bump, smiles, greeting them in the morning when they're coming in. I want students to be greeted with joy the moment they walk through the door. And then it transfers over. Of course, we want lessons to be engaging and lessons to be motivating for students, for them to develop that love and that curiosity of learning. Also, just opportunities for just fun. I'll give you an example. On Friday, we had an academic pep rally for our students. Our students were about to start their state testing. And we had students doing this leapfrog game where they were putting hula hoops over each other and jumping over each other. We had an egg toss competition where students were really throwing eggs across the entire length of the gym.
Real eggs?
Real
Oh
eggs.
my
And a couple of students just got completely splattered with the yolk. But it was just the smiles and the energy and the cheering for our students. Like that is, I think, so important for our students and for our schools, is that we create and cultivate environments where students want to be.
Yeah. No matter what age. So we're primary school teachers. You're a principal of a high school, so older students, but we want them to be able to enjoy it and have fun because it's a safe space for them. And I think kids, no matter what age they are, whether they're little children or adolescents, they deserve to really enjoy this time in their life where they've really got no pressures. Come to school, learn stuff, have some fun, see adults having fun too. Life can be so serious. Whether you've got little children or adolescents, they deserve to have that fun where they can come to school, where it's a safe space, where they can learn and have a good time and also see the adults in their life. So the teachers learning, having fun, because as a teacher, you're learning alongside of the students too. But I know as a teacher, the more fun I had as a teacher, the more that showed off with the kids as well.
Yeah. I think that's the ultimate environment we want, is where
Yeah.
teachers are having fun, enjoying the work, enjoying the job. And because students feed off the energy that the teacher brings. One thing I tell our teachers is our goal is to create an environment in the school where it can be 75 degrees and sunny across the entire campus. And how do we create that environment? It's by, I think, making sure teachers have the support they need so they feel like they are coming into an environment where they're well supported, where they have the tools to be successful. And then the goal is that trickles down to students as well.
Yeah. Do you think you have achieved it at your school?
I think there are definitely challenges day to day. We don't live in this like utopian world where just everything is perfect and brilliant. But I think we do a good job overall at just cultivating an environment where students do have fun, students want to be. And again, I think it all comes back down to if the educators are well supported and they feel like they are positioned to be successful, then they can help the students have that environment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw one of your Instagram or TikToks, which we'll talk about social media in a moment, but you were saying it was the beginning of the Australian school year, I'm sure. And you said that you were coming back from a break or something. And instead of getting the teachers to sit in professional development, you were giving them time to go and work in their classrooms. And I'm like looking at my phone going, yes, amen. We need more of this. We need more principals that are understanding of the workload, but also if you've got teachers and they're sitting in professional development and they're like their mind somewhere else because they're thinking about all of the things that they want to do for their students. We're not saying that these teachers want to go to their classroom and sit on their phone. They want to get everything organized so they've got the best environment for their students, the best lessons plan. They feel, because there's nothing worse than walking into a classroom and you're not fully organized and then you feel a little bit frantic and then something happens and then it just gets even more frantic. So I loved when you said that because it's so true. You're supporting the teachers to then go and support the students.
Yes. And that's something that is evolved. I've evolved in terms of my thinking on that. I just remember when I was an honest principal, I thought that one of the key responsibilities was I need to impress the faculty and staff by having every minute of the day planned for our professional development days. So you would come in and I would, from 7:30 a.m. or whatever the start time was until 3:30 in the afternoon, I would have every minute planned. I'm going to show you just how much I've thought through the details, and I have every PowerPoint ready to go. And it was this sense of, oh, I need to show that I am a well-planned, I'm an organized leader. And I started to recognize over the time of doing this job that the thing that people value and teachers value more is just being treated as professionals and given the space and the time to do what is most important to them. And I think about, and I do some also reflection on my own time in the classroom. And I feel like the more autonomy I had to just plan and get stuff done and set up my classroom, like I was always a better teacher when I had the opportunity to do that than when I was sitting in meetings, learning about a strategy that I may or may not even ever use in my classroom. And my mindset around that has really shifted during my time as a leader, where I think this past kickoff professional development we had to start this school year, it was the most scaled back that I've ever done it. And basically, I just worked with our leadership team and I said, okay, the required stuff, the mandatory stuff, the stuff that we must do, we're going to facilitate those sessions. But outside of that, anything that we had the option of where we could either do this or we could not do it, I was like, nope, scrap it, bucket more time. And so we probably spent 80% of our professional development days were spent with teacher work time, and maybe 20% of that was in meetings. And the teachers just reported that it was the best start to their year. So I do think just being smart with like how we're allocating time. I think teachers are just overscoped. It's one of the things that I just recognize, especially having these daily conversations with teachers. They're always talking about, I have this and this on my to-do list. And so that is one of my challenges as a principal is how do I give them time to get all the stuff that they need to do done?
Yes. I'm like, yes, cheering over here. If I could cheer, I would. It's so true. I also think when you were saying, like, we've got this professional development to do, we have to do this mandatory. There's also opportunities for leaders out there to say, okay, I'm going to run this professional development. If you'd like to come, if you think that this would benefit you, if you feel that you've got work to do somewhere else, go and do that. And then that way we're differentiating for the teachers too. It's like when you go to those conferences and you're like, I really want to see that session. I'm really interested in what that session's going to be. But there's other sessions that, aren't in your wheelhouse. And I think sometimes we miss that in education and in schools. Like we feel like we've got to treat the teachers a little bit like students and everything's compulsory and we need everyone doing this at this time. Maybe that's the primary school part of me. I'm not sure.
No, I think you're right. I think that one of the things that is so ironic is the fact that we tell teachers, Well, differentiate to meet the needs of your students. You have this one student who's reading behind grade level and this other student who's reading above grade level. And so you as a teacher need to differentiate to make sure that everyone is getting what they need. So how is it that we're asking teachers to differentiate for their students, but then we're asking teachers to then sit in a professional development where it's a cookie cutter, one size fits all? That makes no sense to me.
No,
And so
same.
that's the one thing that we've been also tried to be strategic about at the school is if there's certain people who don't need to sit in certain meetings or professional development, don't have them sit in the meeting. So prime example of we have some great music teachers here at our school currently. The music teacher doesn't need to sit through the lesson on the math curriculum that we're using. And so what we do is in that example, it's okay, the music teacher, you're going to go work on inventorying your instruments and preparing your lessons for the music class. And then we'll just have the people who actually need to know about the math curriculum, they'll sit in that. And so I think we really tried to respect people's time in that way of just not having them sit through meetings for the sake of sitting through meetings.
Yeah, it's actually all comes down to respect, really.
Yes.
Let's switch gears and talk about the amazing following you've built on TikTok and Instagram, which is how I discovered you. And who would have guessed 10 years ago we would be teachers and a social media following is crazy in a way. But how has social media changed the way that you've connected with other educators? And what do you hope that they take away from your content? And if you don't follow Principal Lamb, go and follow. You won't regret it.
Absolutely, that's a great one. So I'll start by just sharing my social media origin story.
Yes.
It started on the total whim. I saw another local principal here in the U.S. who was using his TikTok profile to showcase the work that his school was doing. And he used it for teacher recruitment. So I saw an article about this and I said, oh, that's a really cool idea to share more broadly about your school. I said, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to record a video. Several months passed and then we were on summer break. It was actually the first, we had finished school on that Friday. On the Saturday, I came into school and I said, you know what? I'm going to film a video and I'm going to post it. Ashley, let me tell you something. I didn't even have a TikTok account. So step one was go to school on the Saturday. Step two was download the TikTok app. So I filmed this video of me with my rolling cart. I didn't even know how to watch the video prior to hitting post. I filmed this whole video. I don't even know how it's going to look because I don't really know how to use the app. And so I hit post on it. And then the rest is history. So I left that day. My wife was out of town and I texted her like maybe an hour later. I was like, 7 people, I posted this TikTok and 7 people watched the video. And so I wake up the next morning. The first video I ever posted had over 1 million views on TikTok.
Wow, that's incredible.
And so I was like, what is going on here? And that, for me, I was just shocked. The video was just about me talking about how I roll my principal cart around and I believe in teacher customer service. And I was shocked by just the amount of curiosity and interest that it sparked. And a lot of people just responded very positively to it as well. So to go back to your original question, prior to having any kind of social media presence, I was just focused on supporting teachers and walking around our building. And it was very focused on the teachers that were within the school. Then I realized social media has the opportunity to share strategies and share best practices in a way that I didn't foresee until I posted that first video. I think one of the things that I reflect on my own time doing this work is that I made a ton of mistakes. I think I was a pretty crappy first-year teacher, second-year teacher. I was not very good. And then even as a principal, when I first transitioned into a principal role, I was a complete mess as a principal. I just didn't know what I was doing. The mistakes that I've made along the way have resulted in me feeling more confident and gaining a better understanding of how to do the work. That's why I'm excited about this whole social media aspect of it. I feel that's my way to pay it forward to other educators. And my hope is that other educators can learn from the content that I create so they don't have to repeat the same mistakes and challenges that I've had along the way.
Yeah. And you are making that impact. I was chatting to a friend of mine and he's actually on the podcast. His episode will have just aired if you're listening to these in order. His name's Aaron. We know him as Mr. J's Learning Space on social media, and he wants to become a principal, and he's not far off. He's probably a year or two off becoming a principal. He's doing amazing. And I said, I was interviewing you, and I said, would you ever get out the trolley and walk around the school with a trolley instead of having your office? And he said, that inspires me. I would love to do that. He said, I don't know if I'd be able to do it all day, every day, but he said, that is something that I think is so important in education. So That's just one teacher here in Australia, so the other side of the world to you, that thinks, wow, I'm really inspired by what you're doing. So it is amazing how social media can do that and how you can help so many people beyond the school that you're working in.
Yes, that is the thing that just amazes me is, just see the outpouring or like the direct messages I get from people around. People send me pictures of, look at this is my rolling, and it really blows my mind because I'm just like, I just see myself. I'm like, I'm just an ordinary principal walking around the school, asking teachers if they need a restroom break or if they need me to pick up a pack of pencils for them. And just the love and the support that I get from this online community is so rewarding to have other educators reach out and just say, I've utilized this strategy, or this is a great idea, and we've started this at my school. Or I think one of the fun aspects is when I get teachers will message me and say, our principal started rolling the cart around because they watch your videos. And so that just excites me to keep on putting new content out there.
Yes, I wanted to know if you had got other people saying they're rolling carts because I haven't heard or seen. And if you are in a school with a principal with a rolling cart, let us know because I would love to know. How often do you think you get messages of people saying that they have made the switch?
Oh, it's quite a bit. It's every week I'm getting messages about it.
Wow.
I made this is probably over a year ago now, but I made a reel where I had posted some stories on Instagram, and I said, "Oh, if you're rolling a cart, I want to see. I'm going to make a reel about it." And so I
Yeah.
posted a reel with a bunch of other principals who had sent me pictures of their rolling cart. So that's been cool to see.
Yeah, that is really cool. We used to say back years ago when influencers were a big thing and everyone wanted to be an influencer, we'd say teachers are the real influencers. And this is a prime example, Jared, that you have influenced so many principals and so many schools, which will impact so many students in such a positive way.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Again, I never really had the intention to go into social media to have this. I never could have envisioned what this would turn into. And so it's definitely been a lot of fun. I couldn't do it without, it's a whole family affair. It's a filming. So my own children, I have 3 children. They often make it into my stories or to my reels. They actually do a lot of arguing over who gets to be in the next reel. So they love it. My wife does a lot of the filming. I think that's another thing that I'd add too. It's interesting. I recently posted a reel where my son actually took the video of my wife filming me.
Yes, I saw that.
So my wife does a lot of the filming. And so we typically come to school on Sundays, and my wife will knock out the filming and will film the reels for the week. But I think that's another interesting part of it is like we just finished school today, and all day today, I was just focused on teaching or focused on just rolling through the building, supporting teachers, supporting students. So I don't do social media during the school day. I'm just focused on like doing the actual work. And so it was interesting when I posted that reel of my wife filming me, I had a lot of people reach out and they were like, oh, we're so disappointed to know that you are not actually filming yourself during the school day. And I was like, you know how annoying that would be to the rest of our faculty and staff and students if I'm just like walking around with a camera on me the whole time? I'm like, no, I'm actually just like doing the work of the principal during the day.
Not to mention all of the privacy issues and filming kids and all of the other things that would
Yeah.
go into it. I actually did wonder, and maybe it's because I have social media, I wondered, how does he always get filmed with not a single child walking through the hallway?
That's exactly why. I come in on Sunday. It's just me and my wife doing the filming.
I love that. Okay, so we know a lot of new teachers listen to our podcast. Tell us, what is some advice you'd give to a new early career teacher who's passionate about the job, feeling overwhelmed?
I would just say it's always the most challenging when you're just starting something and doing something for the first time. I think about that in my trajectory and growth as both a teacher and then also as a principal as well. I've just learned from a ton of mistakes, and I continue to make that. I've probably made 47 mistakes today. But I think just over time, you continue to use those mistakes as lessons and to better yourself and to hone your craft. I think about just my social media following as a principal. I think one of the things that I've posted some recent videos about this, like I was fired as a principal earlier in my career. And so to think about going from a place where I was told you can't work here anymore because you're doing an ineffective job to get to where I am now, I wanted to maybe give people hope that it gets better and you learn over time. It's just about learning from those mistakes along the way, and that those mistakes can lead to some of your biggest successes. And I certainly felt that. I remember as a classroom teacher, I couldn't manage a classroom. In my first years, I was having trouble getting the kids to sit down and follow directions in the beginning. And as long as you're able to stick with it, accept the fact that no day is going to be perfect. You're going to constantly make mistakes. You're going to constantly have things that you wish went a different way, but it's just about each day making a little progress and getting a little better as you go.
Yeah. And not holding yourself to those things, like making mistakes and it's okay. Let's brush it off and move on because we're all like that. There is no perfect teacher out there. We look at you as the principal and we think, wow, like that is the perfect model as a principal, but you're open enough to say, look, there's times I make mistakes. There's times that maybe the staff aren't 100% happy or a student's not happy with the decision you made or whatever it might be, because there's no
Yeah.
such thing as perfection. It's a unicorn.
Yeah. And I think that's also one of the hardest things about being an educator is you have so many stakeholders you're working with. So if I'm a teacher, I have 25, 30 students in the room. And so students are going to respond to things that we do differently. Some students are going to like the activity. Some students are not going to like the activity. And same is for anytime I'm making a decision for the school. I have some staff members who like it. I have some staff members who don't like it. I have some parents who are in favor of what I'm doing. I have some parents who are opposed to it. And so I think that's part of the natural work, like just being an educator, because we're working and interfacing with so many different people, you're always going to have people respond differently. And so just knowing that you're never going to please everyone either. And that's okay too.
Yeah. It's not a nice feeling thinking that you're not going to please everyone, but it is so true. It's like a big life lesson.
Yes. I think about when I first started as the principal, I felt I spent too much time trying to make everyone happy.
Yes.
And I think that actually held me back because I wasn't always making the decisions that I thought were the best. I was responding to what I thought people would want. And that just created a wishy-washy environment where I probably frustrated people more than anything else.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. And I think that's true. You can't please everyone. And sometimes, as the person in leadership, you've got to make the decision. And sometimes it's a hard decision. But if
Yeah.
you can back it up and you know why you've made that decision and how it's going to help everybody, then you're on the right track.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So, can you give us 3 non negotiables you have for creating a strong and connected school culture?
Sure. I would say if I had to boil it down to 3, I think one is you have to drive with a vision. There has to be like the vision for the school or if you're a teacher for the classroom, you have to have that vision and that North Star of this is what we're going towards. Because within a school, you want everyone going in the same direction. Within a classroom, we're all moving together, working for the same goal. So I think you have to lead with a vision. There has to be a vision. I think the second piece, and this is more, I guess, more in my role as a principal, but when I think about building a strong school culture, I think having the right people is crucial. And so having people who on our team, I select for people who are team players, for people who are professionals, for people who are there because they want students to succeed. And so I think that is one of my biggest things that I spend a lot of time focusing on as a leader is making sure I'm not only hiring the right people, but then doing the things day to day that make the right people want to stay. So definitely having a vision, having that North Star, having the right people. And then I think the third thing is just the clarity of the day-to-day expectations. And so making sure that whether you're a teacher or whether you're a principal, that everyone knows that these are what the expectations are. And so I'll give you an example. For our teachers, I want to make sure that they know that these are our expectations across all of our classrooms for how we want our classrooms to look. We want our classrooms to be joyful. We want teachers to come in with an exciting plan of instruction for the day. And making sure that people know where we're headed and what we're looking for in terms of that day-to-day too.
Yeah. Do you have a whole lot of people like they want to come and work at your school?
Yes, I get quite a few requests
Yeah.
for that. It's obviously social media has had a whole dynamic. I think it's actually changed the dynamic with which I do interviews now, because people used to come into interviews and it would be, oh, okay, I'm meeting with this Principal Lamb, and they would shake my hand. And now it's often they come in and 9 times out of 10, the person interviewing talks about, oh, I've watched your videos and oh, I've watched. So it's actually helped us just from a staff recruitment standpoint, because I think there's a good word through the social media about the work that we're doing here at school.
Yeah, it's really cool. So before we finish up, I've got one last question for you, but we've been doing something new on the podcast where previous guests leave a question for a current guest. The question that's been left for you is, what advice were you given at the beginning of your career that's still relevant today in your role?
Sure. I think I'll speak specifically about when I first became a principal. And one of my mentors told me, he said, you know what, Jared, you just have to have a plan. And he said, And it doesn't even have to be a good plan. It just has to be a plan. And that really resonated with me because at the time I felt like I didn't really have a strong plan. I was just going through the motions of what I thought a principal needed to do. Or I was maybe so focused on having a perfect plan that I wasn't able to execute it at a high level. I had this vision of, oh, I want this to be perfection. And so I tell myself that often, even nowadays, just have a plan. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And think about when I rolled out the rolling cart. It was just my plan. I'm going to roll this cart around the school. And again, I didn't think through all the details of when am I get my email done or where am I going to have these meetings. There's all this stuff I need to think about. But the plan was just like, okay, I'll figure out the details. I'll figure out the X's and O's along the way. But my plan is I'm just going to roll this cart and see where it takes me. That's something that'll stick with me is just have a plan and don't obsess about it being the perfect plan because you're going to have to make adjustments regardless.
Yes, that's so true. Like in the classroom, if you just have a plan, like you know what's happening, it's just
Yeah.
things are going to be smoother.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so talking about your rolling cart, just for fun, if your rolling cart could talk, what would it say about the job of being a principal in 2025?
My cart should share some stories. My cart would see
I
some
bet it
stuff.
could.
I think my cart would probably say three things. One, they would say the job is nonstop. I do not stop throughout the day. I am on the go all day. I'm eating my sandwich at lunchtime on my cart. I'm rolling from one thing to the next. Like I am in go mode constantly. So I would say that was one thing that the cart would say is that I am on the go. I'm on the move. It's nonstop. I think the other thing the cart would say, second thing is just that the role of principal is you're just constantly solving problems. You are constantly looking to triage whatever it is. I tell other leaders and the members of our leadership team, I say, one thing I look for on my cart is I always am trying to go where the action is because I'm looking for those challenges, those places where some extra support is needed. And that's a crucial role of being a school leader is just solving all the problems. And part of it is me going out and proactively finding where those challenges are and then being able to troubleshoot those. And then the last thing, number three, I would say is the cart would probably say that it's all about relationships. I think it's one of my favorite parts about going mobile and rolling around the building is I'm just talking to people all day long. A student is walking to the restroom and I'm asking the student, hey, how's your day going? Tell me about your best class. One of the questions I always ask students is, what could be better? What's some feedback that you have me? But just those conversations, it communicates to the students that I care about them. And two, they actually give great feedback that oftentimes turns into stuff that I'm shifting or maneuvering within the school because I'm able to hear from them directly. And so I just think that the relationship piece is so crucial, not only from the faculty and staff, which I'm very proactive about supporting them, but also just hearing directly from the students as well.
Yeah. Do you measure the steps that you walk in a day? Like how many steps you take?
Yeah, I have my Apple Watch and my iPhone and measure every day. I hit between 15,000 to 20,000 steps daily.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. When you were saying, that came into my head and I thought, I wonder how many steps he takes. Finally, does your cart have a name?
It does not have a name.
Oh.
No. I'm sorry to disappoint with that one, but it's just the rolling principal cart.
I think that maybe one of the next team building things you need to do at your school is to get a name for the cart.
I do need a name for the cart. One of the funny things I'll share with you about the cart is that in my very first video, the cart is very loud. Some of my videos, if you notice the videos where I'm actually rolling the cart, there's usually some background music playing over it, so you just hear the music. But what it actually sounds like when I'm rolling down the hallway is it rattles, it's loud, and people always know I'm coming. What's funny about it is in my very first video, people made all sorts of comments. Oh, they always know the principal's coming. If I was a teacher, I would really start stepping up my game because I know the principal's right around the corner because I hear the cart, or students are going to behave better when they hear that cart rolling around the corner. That's one of the things that people have also told me, well, you need a cart upgrade. But I'm like, no, I'm going to stick with old reliable. I've had cart vendors reach out. Oh, we could upgrade your game. I was like, nope. The cart that I have, one of the wheels falls off periodically, and sometimes I'm holding it up from falling down. But I got to stay faithful to where I started from humble beginning. So I got to have that loyalty to my cart.
I wanted to ask you about the wheels, but I'm glad that you shared that because I was actually really interested. Has the cart ever broken? I bet that you're getting people reaching out all the time saying, come on, let's collaborate and we'll give you a cart.
Yeah, I will. I'm staying faithful. I'm not looking for any upgrades. I've been successful with this cart, and so I'm sticking with it.
I love it. Before we go, can you tell people where they can find and connect with you, Jared, to learn a little bit more about you, or if they want to follow the rolling cart?
Yes, absolutely. I am on all social media channels at principal_lamb. And you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, all the social media platforms.
Principal Lamb, you are a legend. Thank you so much.
Ashley, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for having me. And to all the educators out there, just know that I am rooting for you. I am so grateful for this community, this online community that we have. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to have this pod with me, Ashley.
Amazing. As the episode title says, Jared is a principal breaking all the rules in all the right ways. Wouldn't it be awesome to have a principal that was just so connected with your role as a teacher? I think sometimes in education, that's where we go wrong. We lose that connection. We lost that connection with leadership, and leadership has lost that connection with teachers, and our roles become very different things. But really, we're a team and we're all working together. And the more we can work together for the best needs of our students, the better, right? It was one of my dreams to interview Jared. You can probably tell I was a little bit giggly throughout it. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. I've been asked a few times when I've been telling people that I was doing this interview, would you have a rolling cart if you were a principal? And you know what? I would sure give it a try. Thank you for coming on, Jared. Thank you for listening. If you love the podcast, we'd love for you to leave a review. That's kind of the currency of podcasting. They're free, but you know what? If you leave us a review, it really, really, really helps. So we would love that. Thank you so much for listening. And we're going to see you right here next week. There are rainbows ahead, my friend. And together, we're unstoppable.